News 18 has accessed the Pakistan Assembly Speaker's ruling. And what we are learning is that the Speaker in his order has clearly gone on the basis of facts which has been given by Imran Khan government on foreign interference. This is a conspiracy against the sitting government and no grounds to go for this no confidence motion. That's the kind of argument on the basis of which the ruling was given by the Speaker. Again, Mr. Dayal, you just heard that basis on which the opposition's motion was rejected, declared null and void. Your reaction to this?
Well, in my view, the Speaker has played a partial role. The Speaker is supposed to be impartial, but both the Deputy Speaker, acting as the Speaker, and in fact the President of Pakistan have sided with Imran Khan, and they belong to his party. The President, before assuming the post of the President, was a member of Imran Khan's party. So it's a classic case of the opposition being run out not by Imran Khan, but run out by the umpires, because the Speaker and the President are sort of umpires. They're supposed to be neutral, but they have actively collaborated with Imran Khan in shutting the doors for the opposition to take over power, because the opposition, if it had won the vote of confidence and it had been able to establish that Imran Khan has lost the support of the majority of members of the National Assembly, then it would have been the opposition which would have been in power. And the Deputy Speaker, acting along with the Speaker, has seen to it that this has not happened, and the President has gone along with the decision of the Speaker. So in my view, what has happened is really not fair in terms of constitutional politics. But in Pakistan, anything goes. I've seen all kinds of strange things happen in that country. President Ziaul Haq, from being a military ruler, made such enormous changes in the rules to the election process that he got himself elected as a civilian president, and nobody could do a thing about it. So in Pakistan, very strange things happen, and this is one very, very strange thing which we have witnessed today.
Prime Minister's claimants there, even as we speak. But Mr. Bansal, the fact that Imran Khan is pitching himself forward as someone who's taking on corruption, who I have a mind of my own, I'm not going to be subservient to those who are using money or money power. Also, as Mr. Dayal was pointing out, also taking on America, which is something which is unheard of, considering the fact that Pakistan depends heavily on America for running off its economy. What do you think is in his mind? Why is he taking up this strategy? He wants to either go down as a martyr, or he hopes to reap this benefit and come back to power in case elections are held.
See, there is no doubt that US has a lot of influence in Pakistan, but please understand, as far as the streets are concerned, as far as an average Pakistani is concerned, the US approval rating is abysmally low. While the elite has their children, their relatives studying in the United States, an average Pakistani actually does not have a very high opinion of US. Now, by projecting himself as someone who's fighting this external conspiracy, he has managed to draw the public support for himself. And as you can see, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa local bodies elections, the second round, that contrasted with the first round, the huge swing in favor of PTI that one sees between the two rounds very clearly shows that public is buying this Imran Khan's narrative. So as of now, the popular support is with him. He does not have the numbers in Parliament or National Assembly, that is there. But he has made certain statements which have created a fissure between him and the army and him and the Western countries. So it will be difficult, even if he continues in power, this will have very, very serious impact on Pakistan's future, because they are at this moment trying to negotiate with IMF. Their foreign exchange reserves are depleting very fast, though they're still adequate reserves, but they're depleting very fast. And if they start depleting very fast, the currency will start devaluing very fast. And the imports at a time when oil prices are rising high are going to be extremely, extremely difficult. So whichever way the things go, as I say, that I am quite certain that next few months are going to be extremely turbulent for Pakistan, and you are going to see problems as far as Pakistan is concerned.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate because who pays the price for it? It's for the people themselves. But you know, Mr. Dal, the army, let's focus on that because all of us who observed Pakistan from close or from far do know this, that the army over there is definitely not neutral. What are they waiting for when they've pulled themselves away and they're watching it from a distance?
You know, the uh, fact is very clear to everybody that Imran Khan seems to have had a falling out with the armed forces. A number of things point out in that direction. Various statements of Imran Khan, various actions by him. These seem to have run afoul of the army chief, General Bajwa. Now, why is General Bajwa waiting? Why are the armed forces waiting? Well, I don't think the armed forces want to jump in on their own at the moment, because there is a groundswell of support for democratic forces, for Pakistan to move in the direction of a proper democracy. At the moment, one can say till now it has had a very checkered history as a democracy. But the common man does feel that the army should keep out of politics. Now, if things go from bad to worse, if the internal political situation of Pakistan deteriorates, if, for instance, the law and order situation deteriorates because of the infighting within Pakistan between the different political parties, if the economic situation deteriorates, then I'm afraid that the scenario would change and the army might consider it necessary for itself to step in. There are reports I've seen that the Supreme Court might declare an emergency and might like to hand over things to the armed forces. I don't know whether these reports are true or not, but certainly if things keep on deteriorating, then as in the past, the army may step in to sort out matters.
But you know, Mr. Bansal, if because which is what we are also picking up is that there is one option which the court is looking at is let the army step in because they have played a political role and they do play a political role in Pakistan, declare a state of emergency. Do you think that's what the army is looking at, legitimizing their stepping in into the political turmoil of Pakistan and trying to ensure a certain semblance of political stability till elections are held, if they are at all? Is that the calculation of the army and explains why they are now holding themselves back?
I don't think so. This is feasible, though. Anything is feasible in Pakistan. Pakistan, the judiciary has justified military coups. Justice Munir talked of doctrine of necessity. But considering the composition of top judges of the Supreme Court, this is not going to be a unanimous decision. And any difference of opinion will not be something of the liking of Pakistan army. Please understand, General Qamar Javed Bajwa is by and large a very, very balanced man, unlike many of his predecessors. He does not seem very keen on taking the reins of power directly, because that will expose Pakistan army to a lot of accusations. To my mind, at the base, if the Supreme Court decides, to my mind, Supreme Court has one course of action to declare Deputy Speaker's action unconstitutional and revert back return back to the National Assembly, because then, of course, Shahbaz Sharif gets elected, as he's already been elected by majority of the opposition things. The second, via media, which if we are actually looking for a via media, is that they could make a government of a puppet technocrat sort of a thing. In the Pakistan's history, it has happened. If you remember in the olden days when Benazir and Nawaz were having in between an interim administration was propped up. That sort of an administration is feasible. Though I'm not very sure whether that will be that, but it will be a puppet who will be backed primarily by army, a puppet who would have no standing of his own, but just run an administration, like an interim administration is often run in Pakistan during elections. Something like that, akin to that, they could probably bring in and create a government of national unity, considering the economic crisis that Pakistan faces and things like that. That is feasible. To my mind, at this juncture, Pakistan army directly taking over the reins of power, to me at least, seems unlikely. And if it happens, will not reduce turbulence in Pakistan. It will increase turbulence, because General Bajwa is unacceptable to religious right. This fact must be appreciated and understood. So this part must be appreciated. So if General Bajwa tries to take reins in his hands, it's going to create some amount of problem.